the value system introduces a third party to an already difficult situation of employer-employee. And so now you just become the keeper of the culture. You become the keeper of the value system, right? It's so easy to walk around our company and simply say to the underperforming salesperson, profits is one of the value systems here. You're not generating any profits. We have a problem.
Yeah.
How can I help you solve the lack of profit in your effort problem? That's how it is. It's not, you're not making me enough money. You're not paying for yourself. It's, hey, a value system is the company has to be profitable and your business isn't profitable. What can I do to help you? Changes everything, dude.
Welcome to the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow, where we get inside the minds of today's leading viral marketers as they reveal the exact strategies they use to build brands, products, and campaigns that are magnetic to customers, spread like wildfire, and seize the attention of millions. This is Viral by Design.
So welcome to another episode of Viral by Design. I'm very excited today to be joined by Matt Manero. Matt is the CEO of 4 companies, including Commercial Fleet Financing, which made the Inc. 500 list of America's fastest growing companies 2 years in a row. Matt launched his first company, CFF, back in 1995 with nothing more than a phone, a folding table, and the unyielding confidence of a single client who is a trucker. CFF has served more than 10,000 clients, has become one of the largest independently owned transport equipment finance companies in America. Matt also holds a syndicated radio show and podcast on Lifestyle Talk Radio Network. His companies have been recognized in publications such as Inc. Magazine, Dallas Business Journal, Overdrive Magazine, Fleet Owner, Transport Topics, Commercial Carrier Journal, and Dealer Solutions Magazine. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dave. Happy to be with you.
Absolutely. So, hey, one thing I'm really curious about is you started out back in 1995. What similarities and what differences are there to business back then? I imagine it was very different back in 95. Obviously, there was no internet, right, for a start. But what was kind of different back then, and how's the landscape changed in your career?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, but yet it hasn't changed at all, really. I mean, look, man, those are tough times. I mean, where we are today versus where we started is a very, very different outcome. But and I don't look back on those early days with a lot of fond memories, man. It was a real struggle. I mean, I was in a little dumpy 1-bedroom apartment. I had a folding table and a phone and a Yellow Pages. And I would cold call out of those Yellow Pages all day, every day, begging for people to want to let me quote their truck financing needs. And it was a slow go, man. So I do think the ability to get clients is easier today. The ability to get exposure to clients is much easier today. But the principles of getting a business going and building something that's sustainable for a long period of time are always the same, right?
Yeah.
Bust your butt, deliver a great service, back it up, take care of the customer, build a culture that you can recruit other people to come and join you, because people are the key, whether it's people that you work with or people that are your customers. It is vital. And then, if one big takeaway that has never changed is the requirement to scale. You have to get big to make any real money. And I didn't understand that, Dave. I actually thought, the idea was to be small, right? The idea was to, build something that made you money. I didn't understand that the idea was to build something that made you money, but also made all the people around you money too. And that probably cost me a decade. If you can imagine, I'm 51 years old. I probably wasted 10 years of my 25 years running this business because I didn't understand scale, the importance of getting bigger.
Yeah, that's huge. And obviously there's a lot involved in that, right? In terms of building a team and making sure that the team, fulfills the values and the ethos of the company and does a good job, right? What do you think is most important for scale though? You think it's processes? Do you think it's team? Do you think it's finding the right people?
No, it's platform. It's what business did you choose, right?
Right.
And so I always knew that the banking or finance industry was huge. And it was dominated by large publicly traded companies who would leave crumbs on the table. And when the marketplace is tens and tens and tens of billions, there's a lot of $100 million crumbs. And my goal was, how do I get 100 million of those crumbs come in my direction? And so I think a lot of people make mistakes, man. They go into businesses that are just inherently too small. So I went into a huge industry and began to carve a niche in that industry, which is what we have now, a very niche-based company. But the industry is so big that we can get our hands on what is now a couple $100 million a year. So I think it's really important for people to understand that they need to pick the right platform, a business, a foundational niche that they can, that has scalability to it, right? I look at so many guys, they got to, they're in the printing business. It's tough to scale a printing business, They start a landscaping company. It's tough to get big in the landscaping business. Hell, they start a little coffee shop. It's hard to get big in the coffee shop. You need a business that's inherently in a huge marketplace to go and get a substantial piece of what the big boys forget about. And that's what we've done.
100%. I think that's kind of often the way it goes, is that people are sat around in the pub or in a bar with their friends talking about starting a business, and they think, oh, well, what do I like doing? And then you hear these messages: do what you love, follow your passion. And people don't necessarily take into consideration the fact that it needs to be, as you say, like a big enough marketplace to actually feed you enough revenue to grow, right? It needs to be something which has a big enough market demand to actually make sense. Yeah,
it's exactly what happens, Dave. I mean, the mom makes delicious cupcakes, and all her friends say, oh man, your cupcake's so good, you should be in the business. So she quits her good paying job and goes into the cupcake making business, and she hates her freaking life.
Yeah.
Right? That happens all the time, man. There's 25 million small business owners in America, and most of them suck. They built a crappy business because they didn't do it the right way. The marketplace just simply wasn't big enough for them to ever make real money.
100%.
I made that same mistake, dude. I just didn't get it, right? I was in a big industry, but we were just playing too damn small.
Got it. So in a word then, what is the right way, in your opinion, if you were back at, where you were, or if you were starting out again with the knowledge that you now have, what would you be looking at? How would you be analyzing these opportunities? Where would you be researching?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it in my book, You Need More Money. What do I think are the territories or the platforms that have long-term viability? They are still very much the old school stuff: transportation, banking, insurance, logistics. All of that stuff has huge upside opportunity, especially when young people need to understand that most of those industries have a bunch of old gray hair in it who are really out to pasture, dude. They're not doing anything other than, oh my God, don't let me lose my job because I got the big house, I got the 2 kids in college, and I'm behind on my retirement. Please don't let me lose this job. So they contract and they do almost nothing risky or meaningful. It's just a self-preservation type of existence. That in itself is an unbelievable opportunity. If that guy or gal's in their 50s or 60s, they're looking at the finish line. If somebody else comes in their 20s, they can make up that gap really fast. There will be a lot of people who get into these old, what are considered boring industries in their 20s, and they will become the CEO of those companies in their 30s, because all of those 50s and 60-year-old employees are going to retire and go off do something else, or maybe nothing. The other piece of the puzzle, which is so important though, especially after the virus, is how much innovation's happening. So we have to look at security, viral security, cybersecurity. We have to look at artificial intelligence. We have to look at virtual reality. My boys got those Facebook virtual reality things, Oculus, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Man, I put that thing on. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, man. This is an incredible experience. And that thing is only going to get so much more real. And when you apply that to so many different industries, think about what that does to the medical industry, right? where the doctor can train virtually on a real body, a virtual body, but they can do real stuff. Same thing for a pilot, for the military. Think of all these different industries that can be transformed by virtual reality. Now, I don't want to shortchange it too, Dave, because there's a downside to it, right? That kid who doesn't have a lot of friends in high school can go run off to his or her virtual reality and never have to come back into the real world, right? Their whole life can be, how do I hit the clock so I can go home, put my virtual reality on, and live in this new environment that I can create for myself that makes me feel good. So there's pluses and minuses to everything, but those are the areas that I'd be looking. I'd be looking at cyber, I'd be looking at virtual reality, I'd be looking at artificial intelligence, and I'd be heavily looking at the old, what are considered boring industries that have to change. And they will change. Insurance will never go away. Transportation will never go away. Finance will never go away. Logistics will never go away. And there's massive opportunity in those places.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's a fantastic message that you got there. I think so many younger people especially are so led astray with this idea of create a social media following, just get big, get as many followers as you can, and someday checks will start falling into your bank account, right? Whereas what you're talking about there is finding businesses that already generate revenue. There's massive demand already, and there's no real innovation happening because it's older people who just don't have the interest or don't want to, and going in and just exploiting that opportunity. It's a fantastic message, man.
Yeah, thank you. And the beautiful part is all those old timers that we're talking about, none of them are doing that. So yeah. It's an immediate competitive advantage for the young person to come on in and start applying these new strategies, i.e. social, influence, personality, brand, to make up the gap of time. They can do it because the old guys aren't going to do it. And listen, I might be even on the cusp of being one of those old guys, right? We just try to embrace it a little bit more here because it does matter. It is better to be introduced to a client who gets to know you before you have to cold call them out of a yellow pages and they have no idea who you are. It is better to do it that way. The downside is what you just said, buddy, which is most people have no idea how to monetize it because they don't have a platform behind it, right? Yeah. I was in business 20 years before I posted on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, you say that you may be cusping on that yourself, but it's clear that you've diverted very heavily into digital, and you've got a massive platform online now. So what was that transition for you, like from CFF into doing what you do now?
Yeah, I have to tell you, it was influenced by Grant Cardone. And, so many people have been influenced by Grant Cardone, right? When I read the 10X rule in maybe 2010, that was, people ask me, what's your favorite business book of all time? Without question, it's the 10X rule. I read every page in that book and I said, this guy's speaking my language, man. This is exactly how I look at things. What I didn't understand was influence, right? That book began to open my mind into you should have more of a brand and a notoriety of yourself, which will benefit your business. And so that drove me. And then that led to 2 books. The first was a self-published book called The Grit that I wrote. And then the second one was got bought by Penguin Random House called You Need More Money. So, and now that's fueled some other businesses. I have a business boot camp we call Burn the Ships with my partner, Judge Graham. Judge and I own a marketing company. We own an Amazon store that sells fitness products on Amazon that's doing very well. And we're involved in some other, Judge and I are involved in some other stuff. But in the meantime, commercial fleet continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. Our marketing department is a massive contributor to the success of commercial fleet. And we didn't have a real marketing department 3 years ago.
Yeah. That's huge, man. It's really, really interesting to see that transition. So you mentioned obviously the books and the coaching, and obviously you're now at a stage in your career that you're passing on a lot of that wisdom to other people. So how is that? How are you helping people, and what does that look like when somebody comes to you for help?
Yeah, man, that's great. Our Burn the Ships boot camps, people can learn more at burntheships.com. Judge and I teach the structural process of building any business, from literally step 1 to step 21. There's 21 steps in the program. It's a day-and-a-half seminar, always in Dallas. We shoot guns, smoke cigars, drink bourbon, eat barbecue.
True Texas.
It's pure Texas experience, and we pour into our attendees for a day and a half. The next boot camp is February 18th. They're amazing transformational experiences for people because most business owners, Dave, do it like I did. I hated the boss. He treated me poorly in my mind, right? Don't know that he really did, but I sure thought he did.
Yeah.
So I split. I'll do my own thing. Dude, the only thing I knew how to do back then was sell. I didn't know how to do accounting. I didn't know how to build culture. I didn't know anything about systems. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about hiring and how important that stuff is to a business, a successful business. It's not important to a solopreneur. Although I do think even in a solopreneur world, culture and values should be treated more seriously. Even the individual should have a very clear understanding of what they'll tolerate, what they won't tolerate, who they'll do business with, what type of customer are they going after, what type of customer will they not go after. But what ends up happening is we chase the rev. So we end up with this very messy client base and a very messy value system. And I got really clear on that stuff pretty early.
That's huge, man. I mean, I'm definitely intrigued to hear about like what your kind of core values are and how that translates into what you do.
Yeah, I mean, look, my personal core values, I have 3 personal core values. There's really one core value in my family. I'm married for going on 22 years. We have 3 incredible boys. And we have one value system, which is no disrespect. I preached it to my boys from the beginning. And that means no disrespect to your coaches, no disrespect to your teachers, no disrespect to your mother, no disrespect to me, no disrespect to yourselves, no disrespect to your friends. You know, and my boys are all pretty athletic, and you've seen it on especially, you know, in Europe with soccer as powerful and football as powerful as it is for you all. You see it, man. The guy flops and then he lifts his hands to the refs. I told my boys since the day they could kick a ball, if I ever see you throw your hands up to the refs, we're going to have a problem. That to me is a disrespectful action to the refs. By the way, super low value activity. The refs never change the call when you raise your hands and act like a wuss. Does the ref ever change the call? Never.
Yeah.
Get back to the field, get back to playing. And then my 3 personals are very simple. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a hero father. And those are important words, buddy, because I won't be a great friend. I already know that about myself. I knew it very, very early on in my life. I will not be a great friend. I'm a selfish guy. I really kind of care about myself. I'll be there when you need me, but I'll never remember your birthday. I won't send cards. I won't do those little nice things. It's just not in my DNA. So the best I can be is a good friend. But I can be a great husband and I can be a freaking hero father to my boys.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's huge to be able to clearly and openly state that kind of thing, though, right? It's like it shows a real sense of like self-knowledge and self-understanding to be able to see that. I think it's super powerful. I'm really intrigued as well. Like when you take people on your Burn the Ships boot camps, obviously you're spending time with these people, you're really getting to know them. What traits do you see in them of the people who are really successful versus the ones who aren't?
Great question. Our Burn the Ships boot camps, the step 1 is personality testing. So in all of our businesses, nobody works for us if we don't have a personality test. So the first thing that happens when you come to one of our Burn the Ships events is we have your personality test. We know who you are and what you stand for. And so your question's a great one because I have the data, not just the emotional data, but I have the actual data to support it. The attendees that come to us are highly ambitious. So they all in the personality test that we use called the predictive index. If anybody wants to go get it, it's awesome. They're very high A on the graph. And they're very low D on the graph. And D represents attention to detail, the ability to close the circle, to finish what they start. They're highly disorganized, but highly ambitious. And it's a very typical personality trait of a successful entrepreneur that if they don't figure out a process, will screw it up.
Got it.
So you have to have the systems behind the ambition.
Yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. And so what are you actually teaching them throughout the rest of the course? Like how do you progress from like day one onwards?
Yeah, I mean, literally day one starts with, we share everyone's personality tests. So everybody gets to see exactly who they are, what their business DNA looks like, and our interpretation of it. And then it moves from that into the end game. The second phase of our process is, what do you want for the effort that you're putting in? Literally map it out. I want to be a great dad. Okay, well, maybe you don't need $5 million a year, right? I want a jet. Okay, you're not going to get it on $5 million a year in revenue. You're going to have more, right? So it all that exercise starts with is, I want Lambos, I want yachts, I want jets, all that sort of stuff. They all share that. And then very quickly, Judge and I work through what a realistic end game against your real desires are. And most of the time it calms people down, because dude, there's tremendous pressure when you say I want a jet.
Yeah.
And I've looked at jets. A jet is $1 million a year, period, end of story.
Maintenance only, right?
That's it. So do you have the plan to get it? Or are you just kidding yourself that you want it? Because you may not really want it to do the effort to get it. Like, seriously, if a guy wants a jet, you're talking he or she needs millions a year in personal income. And if a business throws off a 20% profit margin, you're probably talking somewhere in the range of a minimum of a $25 million business that throws off 20% margin. That's $5 million that could allocate after tax $1 million for a jet. So are you on the path to build a $25 million business? Which, by the way, it's not a big business. It's a doable thing, but not if you're at 500,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
We really lean into them with that level of transparency and clarity. This thing starts at 7:30 in the morning. All this is done by like 9 o'clock. So people are already sort of, their heads are really spinning. And then we begin with the clarity. And then we really get into the structural piece. We do a detailed competitive analysis. So who are the big players in your marketplace? What niche can you get into in that marketplace to become what we call the 800-pound gorilla? How do you dominate it? How do you create market leader content? How do you have a digital presence that attracts people? And then the afternoon session, we spend a tremendous amount of time on core values and culture. How do we actually create a culture that attracts clients that we want to do business with and employees who want to come and work for us? Because the biggest problem, dude, is we don't want to hire people because we fail so often when we hire people. Culture fixes that. So it's really an incredible program. Again, people can go to burntheships.com and see the structure. We have all the bullet points of what we teach on it. But it's one of the biggest pleasures that Judge and I get. You know, Judge has sold, my partner in that business, he sold 2 companies. The first was for north of $50 million. The second one was north of $500 million in the digital space. He's truly an expert in that stuff. And we've done it. I mean, you know, everything we teach, Judge and I have done. Nothing hypothetical about it, man. We've done it. Everything we teach, we have done.
Yeah, and that's increasingly rare in the kind of marketing space, right?
Yeah,
well, shooting guns, eating Texas barbecue in the sun, and deep visceral personal development sounds like something I'll definitely be into. It sounds cool.
But don't forget, the crescendo of it is you leave with your, what we refer to as your 1-page attack and conquer plan. So your literal 12-month plan, you leave our event with it completely built out. What are you doing? What is your action plan and your attack for the next 12 months? And that's what we refer to as the crescendo. And everybody at the end of day 2, which finishes at noon on Friday, they leave with their specific attack and conquer plan. And all they have to do is go implement.
It's huge, man. You know, and there's a few things that you mentioned throughout that which really kind of resonate with me, you know, over the last few years, really understanding the importance of core values and culture and how that actually attracts the right people, right? Because I mean, the last 3 people that I've hired, they were all attracted to the core values of our business, which, you know, we took time to sit down and write out. And it's incredible the difference in the type of person that you get, rather than, you know, I guess the antithesis for that for us was writing a job description, putting it out on job sites, and just hoping that people kind of drudge through and like, maybe there's something, yeah, fingers crossed, maybe there's something decent in there. But then suddenly when you flip the table, you really start getting vocal about the brand values and you know, what you really want to do. The last two people that we brought onto the team used the exact same phrase, which was, it feels like the stars have aligned. It feels like this opportunity was made for me. Crazy, right?
Yeah. So Dave, just think of how many problems get solved when that value system is clear, right? Judge and I believe that a great culture solves 90% of the hiring, firing, and management problems that every business owner deals with. So when you have that value system, give me one of the values that you have.
Creativity. So we believe that creativity underlines everything.
Great. So, you know, that person 2 months into the position with your company hasn't brought any cool ideas. Now, before that value system, you might say, this guy sucks, this guy isn't creative, and I'm a creative guy, so we have a conflict. But when the value system of creativity is there, you get to say to that person, hey, I need more creativity from you. Why? It's not a Dave request, it's a value system of the business.
Yeah.
And so the value system becomes the foundation of everything that happens versus Dave's emotion becoming the reason everything happens. And that's where the conflict is. The value system introduces a third party to an already difficult situation of employer-employee. And so now you just become the keeper of the culture. You become the keeper of the value system, right? It's so easy to walk around our company and simply say to the underperforming salesperson, profits is one of the value systems here. You're not generating any profits. We have a problem. Yeah. How can I help you solve the lack of profit in your effort problem? That's how it is. It's not, you're not making me enough money. You're not paying for yourself. It's, hey, a value system is the company has to be profitable and your business isn't profitable. What can I do to help you? Changes everything, dude.
Yeah. Huge, man. And, you know, I can see even how, when you mentioned before about even if it's a solopreneur, you know, it's just a single person business, the importance of having that underlying is going to attract the right type of clients. It's going to be able to help you navigate situations with them as well, like by making it bigger than you and them, by making it about the values of the brand. It's huge, man. It's a great message.
Cool. Thank you for saying it. And I'm grateful to know that you have learned that lesson early enough in your career to really start to build a business around it. I didn't. Dude, yeah. I was a profit pig.
Yeah.
I ended up with a group of really rogue salespeople who didn't give a damn about this place. And we had to get back in and fix it. And so why Judge and I love Burn the Ships is we help entrepreneurs start it right. I had to go back in and redo it. And that's harder than starting it right. The earlier you can start the value system and culture development, the better off your business is going to be. It's a bitch to go in after the fact and try to put it in.
100%. So what was it that changed it for you, Matt? Like, what was that turning point that made you realize that was the case and you had to do something about it?
Yeah, look, I mean, I talk about it in the book, You Need More Money. I mean, there was a real event that happened to me here in the office where I had literally, I had truly become a maniac. You know, I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. In fact, Forbes wrote an article about the process. You just type in Matt Manero Forbes, it'll tell you. I think they title it Tyrannical Maniac, changes or something like that. No, I was crazy. I mean, I was so vicious to growth and to validate and to prove and to stop struggling as hard as we had started that I had really lost a lot of decency in my interaction with people here in my company. I was around 2013 or so. And I just made a decision after that specific event and that day that I'm not going to be this guy anymore, man. I'm going to change. And, there's an old saying that zebras can't change their stripes. It's not true, man. Mm. Zebras can change their stripes, man. People can change. People can have, alcohol and drug problems and eating disorders, and they can quit and they can get thin and they can get fit. People can change, but you got to give them some roadmap. And so that roadmap for me was without question building out that value system. What do I stand for, man? What will I tolerate? What will I not tolerate? My buddy Rick Sapio wrote an amazing book called Who's in Your Room. It's available on Amazon for anybody who wants it. Everybody should read it. Who's in your freaking room, man? Are they the people that you want in your room? And it's not a cliche thing, Dave, about everyone's talking about, you'll be the net sum of the 5 people you hang around with. I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's an entire energy field that when that level of clarity happens, everything can change. And it did change for us. My whole life got better when I got crystal clear on the value system.
That's huge, man. I absolutely love this message, and I'm going to be checking out Bernie Boat's boot camp, and we'll, obviously add the links around the podcast as well. Highly recommend anyone listening does too. Where else can people find out about what you're doing? I see you've got all your books across the front of you there. You've got The Grit, and then You Need More Money, and a couple of others. Yeah,
look, either of those books are both available on Amazon. You Need More Money is also available on Audible if somebody likes to listen to it instead of read it. Great books. You Need More Money is not what the title is. Everybody thinks it's about money. It's not. It's a story of my brother-in-law. My wife lost her only brother a few years ago. He died at 46 of cancer. He left a wife and 4 kids with no health insurance, no life insurance, and $100 in the bank. And, that is the thread through the whole book of, number one, how does it happen? Why does it happen? What can you do to prevent it? And then what's it like to be in a position where you, because you love that person, can fund everything they need to try to get them better, which is the position that my wife and I were in. So it's a story of, it's really a wake-up call, man. And then it's a roadmap, right? The first part of the book is about waking us up to why we do need more money and why it shouldn't be taken lightly. And the second part of the book is a structural roadmap of how you actually do it. And I walk people through the actual roadmap of how I went from $0, dollars to something, very, very meaningful, to a point where, I can help a lot of people. My housekeeper has been with us for 17 years. 17 years she's been part of our family. And she came to us just a couple of weeks ago and, said her son, very talented kid, she's got one kid, he's 18, wants to go to college, she doesn't have any money, and they don't know what to do. And, our Christmas gift to her was his tuition. Tell him he can go anywhere he wants.
That's incredible, man.
So those are the things, man. I buried a lot of people, paid for a lot of funerals.
Yeah.
For people that we love that weren't in a position, to do it for themselves or their family. And that's the goal, dude. That's the point. That's the end game.
Yeah.
Right? The end game, maybe, listen, if the end game is get the jet, love it. Get the yacht, love it. If the end game is for, I want to pay for tutoring for my niece because she's talented, dude, I love that shit too.
Yeah.
In fact, to be honest with you, that's much more gratifying for me than the other stuff,
100%. I love it, Matt. I love your passion. I love your wisdom. I love that you're sharing it with so many people now as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Dave, I appreciate you having me, buddy. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, man. Speak soon.
Thank you.
This has been the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow. For more viral marketing secrets and to get detailed cliff notes on all episodes, visit viralbydesign.net.